The lights in the eastern corridor flickered twice before settling back to their normal blue glow. Most beings on the station would not notice such a small thing, but Park was not most beings. She stopped walking and looked up at the ceiling. Her eyes moved slowly from one light panel to the next. The flicker had come from Section 7. That section had been working perfectly for 3 months. She had checked it herself, because that was what she did. She checked things. She noticed things. It was how she had survived 19 years on a planet that tried very hard to kill everyone on it. Was small for a human. She stood at 160 centimeters, with a thin frame that made her look younger than her age. Her black hair was cut short, just below her ears, and her face was plain in a way that made people forget her the moment she left a room. This was not an accident. On Earth, being forgettable was a survival skill. She continued walking, but her mind was working. The flicker could mean nothing. Old wiring, a power shift, normal station problems, but it could also mean something else. It could mean that someone was testing the security grid. Someone was looking for blind spots. The Galactic Coalition Academy was a massive orbital station that floated in the space between 3 star systems. It was home to over 12,000 cadets from 47 different species. Humans had been part of the coalition for only 12 years now. In galactic terms, that was nothing. Humans were the new species, the primitive ones, the ones who had crawled out of their damaged planet and somehow made it to the stars. The other species tolerated humans. They smiled at them in the corridors. They partnered with them in classes, but had seen the way they looked at human cadets when they thought no one was watching. The slight curl of a lip, the quick glance of disgust, the whispered comments in languages they assumed humans could not understand. Understood 3 of those languages. She had learned them in the underground bunkers of New Seoul, where children learned useful things instead of comfortable ones. She turned a corner and entered the mess hall. The large room was filled with cadets from a dozen species, all eating their evening meals. The noise was loud but familiar. Scanned the room in 2 seconds, noting exits, obstacles, and potential threats. Then she found what she was looking for. Sat alone at a table near the window. He was bent over a tablet, his food untouched beside him. Even from across the room, could see the excitement on his face. His eyes were wide, and he was tapping on the tablet so fast his fingers were blurring. She walked over and sat down across from him. He did not look up. "You should eat," she said. "I found something," said. His voice was barely above a whisper, but it vibrated with energy. "I found something big." Was 20 years old, 1 year older than. He was tall and thin, with a gentle face and soft eyes. He studied xenobiology, which meant he spent his days looking at cells and genes and trying to understand how different species worked. He was brilliant at it. He was also terrible at everything else. Had known him since they were children in the bunkers. He had been the boy who cried when they killed rats for food. The boy who tried to save every injured animal he found. The boy who believed that kindness was stronger than violence. He was wrong about that, but protected him anyway because he was her friend and because the galaxy needed people like him. People who still believed in good things. "What did you find?" she asked. Finally looked up. His face was glowing. "Human cellular regeneration. I have been comparing it to other species in the coalition. We are different, very different." Felt a cold weight settle in her stomach. Different how? "Our cells repair themselves faster than any other species in the database. Not a little faster, much faster. And our adaptation rate is off the charts. When humans face new environments, our bodies change to match them within generations. Other species take thousands of years to adapt. We do it in decades." Looked around the mess hall. No one was paying attention to them, but that did not mean no one was listening. "Keep your voice down," she said quietly. Did not seem to hear her. "Do you understand what this means? We are not primitive. We are the opposite of primitive. Our biology is incredibly advanced. The professors do not understand how it is possible. They keep asking me for more data. Which professors? Professor, he is very interested. He said he wants to present my research to the Science Council. The cold weight in stomach grew heavier. They were one of the oldest species in the coalition. They had been traveling between stars for 10,000 years. They were also known for something else. They collected things. Species that interested them had a habit of disappearing into research facilities and never coming out. Said slowly, I want you to stop this research. He stared at her like she had slapped him. What? Why? Because you are painting a target on yourself, on all humans. Shook his head. You are being paranoid. We are part of the coalition now. We are allies. We are safe. Looked at her friend. She wanted to tell him the truth. She wanted to tell him about the things she had seen on Earth, the wars, the betrayals, the way powerful groups always tried to control or destroy anything that threatened their power. She wanted to tell him that safety was an illusion, and that the moment you believed you were safe was the moment you became a victim. But she did not say any of these things, because would not believe her. He had to believe in goodness. It was the only thing that kept him going. Just be careful, she said instead, please. Smiled at her. It was a warm smile full of trust. I am always careful, you worry too much. Did not smile back. She looked across the mess hall to the far corner where a group of officers sat together. They wore the uniforms of the diplomatic corps and they were eating their meals in silence. But one of them was not eating. One of them was watching. His eyes were fixed on. Memorized his face. Tall, skin with darker patterns around the eyes, a small scar on his left jaw, officer insignia showing the rank of commander. He noticed her looking and turned away, but not fast enough. Had seen the expression on his face. It was the expression of a hunter who had found his prey. She stood up from the table. Where are you going? Asked. To check something, she said. Finish your food, go back to your quarters. Do not stop to talk to anyone. Laughed. You really do worry too much. Walked away without answering. She moved through the mess hall, keeping her pace normal, her expression blank, but inside her mind was racing. The flickering lights, the officer, research. These things were connected. She did not know how yet, but she would find out. In the bunkers of New Seoul, children learned a simple rule. When something feels wrong, it is wrong. Trust your gut. Trust your fear. Fear keeps you alive. His gut was screaming. She left the mess hall and walked toward the security office. She needed to check the maintenance logs for Section 7. She needed to see who had been accessing the systems in the Eastern Corridor. Behind her, the commander stood up from his table and spoke quietly into a communication device on his wrist. The hunt had begun, but the hunters did not know that they were not the only ones watching. They did not know Park at all. 3 days passed and watched. She watched the corridors near the human quarters. She watched the maintenance crews that came and went. She watched the security cameras that covered the paths walked every day. And she saw things that worried her. On the first day, she noticed 2 security officers standing near the eastern lift. They wore maintenance uniforms, but their boots were wrong. Maintenance workers wore soft shoes for comfort. These 2 wore military boots, polished and tight. They stood there for 3 hours, pretending to fix a panel that did not need fixing. On the second day, she checked the station's public records. Someone with diplomatic clearance had accessed class schedule. The request was marked as routine but knew better. There was nothing routine about it. On the third day, she found the real problem. She was walking through Corridor 9 when she noticed something strange. The security camera at the far end was pointed at a slightly different angle than before. It had been moved, just a little, just enough to create a blind spot near the emergency exit. Stood in that blind spot and looked around. The corridor was empty. The walls were plain metal. There was nothing special about this place. except that this corridor connected the biology labs to the human residential section. Walked through here every night after his late classes. Someone was preparing something. Someone was making a path. That night sent a message. She used an old system that Earthborn cadets had created years ago. It looked like normal station traffic, but hidden inside the data were coded words that only humans from Earth could understand. The message went to Instructor Shin. Was 35 years old and had been teaching combat training at the academy for 6 years. He was a quiet man with a hard face and eyes that never seemed to blink. The other species thought he was just another human instructor, simple and unremarkable. They were wrong. Had served in the Earth Defense Corps for 15 years before coming to the academy. He had fought in the collapse wars. He had walked through the ruins of cities and the ashes of forests. He knew what humans were capable of, and he knew what the galaxy really thought of them. His response came back within an hour. It was short. Trust your instincts, document nothing digitally, prepare. Read the message 3 times, then deleted it. The word prepare told her everything she needed to know. Had seen the same thing she had seen. Something was coming. She went to her quarters and opened a hidden panel behind her bed. Inside was a small box that she had brought from Earth. Most cadets brought photographs or books or other memories of home. Had brought a knife. It was not a fancy weapon, just a simple blade, 20 centimeters long, made of hardened steel. The handle was wrapped in old leather that had been worn smooth by years of use. Her grandmother had given it to her on the day she left Earth. The galaxy will smile at you, her grandmother had said. They will tell you that you are safe. They will tell you that you are welcome. But remember this, child. A smile can hide teeth, and teeth can bite. Held the knife in her hand. It felt right. It felt like home. She strapped it to her leg under her uniform pants. The blade pressed against her skin, cold and solid. The station's security scanners would not detect it. Metal weapons were considered primitive, outdated, not worth checking for. The aliens trusted their energy shields and their stun weapons. They did not understand that sometimes the oldest tools were the best tools. Far across the station, in a room that was shielded from all surveillance, 2 were having a conversation. Ambassador sat behind a desk made of dark wood from a planet that no longer existed. He was old, even by standards. His skin had faded to almost white and his movements were slow and careful. But his mind was sharp. His mind was always sharp. Commander stood before him, his hands clasped behind his back. He was the officer had seen in the mess hall, the hunter. The human cadet's research has been said. His voice was soft, like dry leaves rustling. The data is remarkable. Human cellular regeneration exceeds all projections. It should not be possible, said. They are a young species, they should be weak, fragile, limited. And yet they are not, leaned back in his chair. This concerns me, Commander. We welcomed humans into the coalition because we believed they would be useful. Labor for our colonies, soldiers for our armies, simple workers for simple tasks. They seemed harmless, agreed. Our initial assessments showed no threat. Our initial assessments were wrong. Eyes narrowed. Human adaptability is not natural. Their bodies change too quickly. Their minds learn too fast. In 1,000 years they could become something dangerous. Then we must act now, while they are still weak. Nodded slowly. We need a specimen, a live human for deep genetic study, someone young enough that their biology is still developing, someone whose disappearance will not cause too many questions. The cadet who did the research said, "He is perfect. He has no family in the coalition, no powerful connections. He is quiet and trusting. He will come with us willingly if we tell him we want to discuss his work. And if he does not come willingly," smiled, it was not a pleasant smile. Humans are fragile, Ambassador. They bruise easily. They break faster. My team can extract him without difficulty. considered this for a long moment. Very well, but this must be clean. No witnesses, no evidence. The humans must never know what happened to him. Understood, I will assemble my team tonight. We move tomorrow. Waved a hand in dismissal, bowed and left the room. Alone, the ambassador looked out his window at the stars. He thought about the humans he had met, so eager to please, so desperate to be accepted. They smiled and nodded and agreed with everything the older species told them. Sheep, he thought, we invited sheep into our house. But somewhere deep in his mind, a small voice whispered a warning, a voice that remembered old stories about Earth, stories about a planet that had burned and frozen and poisoned itself over and over again, stories about a species that had survived extinction events that would have destroyed any other race. What if they are not sheep? The voice asked. What if they are something else, something that only looks like a sheep? Push the thought away. Humans were weak. Everyone knew that. The extraction would be simple. He had no idea how wrong he was. In her quarters, lay on her bed and stared at the ceiling. She did not sleep. She was thinking about tomorrow, running through scenarios in her mind, planning for things that might happen. Corridor 9, the blind spot, the changed camera angle. Tomorrow night would walk through there after his late class. He would be alone, he would be vulnerable. Unless she was there too. She thought about warning him, telling him to change his route, to stay with other people, to be careful. But she knew he would not listen. He would smile and tell her she was worrying too much. He would say that they were safe now, that the coalition was their home. Believed in the goodness of the galaxy, believed in the knife strapped to her leg. Tomorrow they would find out who was right. She closed her eyes and let her body rest, but her mind stayed alert. In the bunkers of New Seoul, children learned to sleep like cats, half awake, always listening, ready to move in an instant. The galaxy thought humans were harmless. The galaxy thought humans were tame. The galaxy was about to learn a very important lesson. Some prey has claws. The next evening came too quickly. Spent the day watching and waiting. She went to her classes. She ate her meals. She smiled at the other cadets and pretended everything was normal, but inside she was counting down the hours. Xenobiology class ended at 2100 hours. The walk from the biology labs to the human quarters took 12 minutes. He would pass through Corridor 9 at approximately 2108. At 2000 hours left her quarters. She did not use the main corridors. Instead, she moved through the maintenance passages that ran behind the walls. These passages were narrow and dark, meant for repair robots and emergency crews. Most cadets did not even know they existed. Knew every inch of them. She reached Corridor 9 at 2100 hours and found a position in a small service alcove. From here, she could see the entire corridor without being seen. She pressed her back against the wall and waited. At 2104, the lights went out. It was not a normal power failure. Recognized the specific darkness of an EMP pulse. Someone had activated a localized electromagnetic burst, killing all electronics in the area. The security cameras went dead. The communication systems went silent. The corridor was completely blind. 4 shapes moved out of the shadows at the far end of the corridor. They wore black tactical suits and moved in perfect formation. Military training, professional killers, strike team. A 5th figure appeared behind them. Commander. He walked calmly, confidently, like a man who had done this many times before. Did not move. She controlled her breathing, slowing her heart rate, calming her body. In the bunkers, children learned to become invisible, to slow down so much that predators would walk right past them without noticing. She watched and waited. At 2107, entered the corridor from the other end. He was looking at his tablet, reading something, not paying attention to his surroundings. He did not notice that the lights were off. He did not notice the 5 figures waiting for him in the darkness. Typical. The strike team moved fast. 2 soldiers came from the front, 2 from the sides. They surrounded in seconds, cutting off every escape route. Looked up confused. What? The lead soldier pressed a device against his neck. A neural disruptor. One touch of the button and would be unconscious, his nervous system overloaded by electrical signals. "Do not make noise," the soldier said. "Cooperate and this will be painless." Froze, his tablet fell from his hands and clattered on the floor. His face went white with fear. Commander stepped forward, a smile on his face. "The ambassador sends his regards, human. You should be honored. Your species will advance science today." Moved. She did not run. Running was loud, clumsy, easy to track. Instead, she flowed. She stepped out of the alcove and crossed the distance to the first soldier in 3 heartbeats. Humans evolved as persistence predators. Their ancestors did not have claws or fangs or armor. They had something better. They had endurance. They could run for hours without stopping. They could track prey across entire continents. And they could see in the dark better than most species knew. They could not see her coming. Their eyes needed more light than human eyes. In this darkness they were half blind. Was not. Her first strike hit the soldier holding the neural disruptor. She drove her palm into his throat, collapsing his windpipe. He made a choking sound and dropped, his hands going to his neck. The second soldier turned toward her, but he was too slow. Brains processed visual information 0.3 seconds slower than human brains. In combat, that was a lifetime. Grabbed his arm, twisted, and dislocated his shoulder with a single motion. He screamed. She silenced him with a knee to the face. 2 down, 3 seconds. The third and fourth soldiers were reaching for their weapons. Energy pistols, useless in the dark when you could not see your target. Dropped low and swept the legs out from under the third soldier. He fell hard on his back. She drove her elbow into his temple before he could rise. The fourth soldier managed to fire his pistol. The energy bolt went wide, burning a hole in the wall 2 meters to his left. She was already moving, circling behind him. Her knife was in her hand now, the blade cold and familiar. She did not kill him. She did not need to. A quick slash across the back of his knee dropped him to the floor. A strike to the base of his skull knocked him unconscious. 4 down, 15 seconds. Commander stood alone in the darkness. He had drawn his own weapon, but he could not see anything. He could only hear the sounds of his soldiers falling, one by one. "What is happening?" he shouted. "Report, someone report." No one answered. Circled around him, her footsteps silent on the metal floor. She was behind him now, close enough to smell his fear. Because yes, he was afraid. She could see it in the way his hands trembled. She could hear it in the rapid beating of his heart. She moved fast, knocking the pistol from his hand and twisting his arm behind his back. He cried out in pain as she dislocated his shoulder with a sharp pull. She leaned close to his ear. "Your species has a saying," she whispered, "know your enemy." Tried to struggle, but she held him easily. For all his training, for all his military experience, he was weak. His species had relied on technology and numbers for so long that they had forgotten how to fight with their bodies. Humans had never forgotten. "You do not know us at all," said. "You see us smile and think we are harmless. You see us cooperate and think we are weak. You look at our small bodies and our soft skin and assume we are prey." She twisted his arm harder. He screamed. "We are not prey, Commander. We have never been prey. We are the species that hunted everything on our planet to extinction. We are the species that survived ice ages and fire ages and poison ages. We are the species that kept fighting even when our world tried to kill us." She released him and he fell to his knees. In the darkness, she could see his face clearly. He was terrified. "Good. Go back to your ambassador," said. "Tell him what happened here. Tell him that we know. Tell him that if he tries this again, I will not be gentle next time." She stepped back into the shadows, knelt there for a long moment, gasping for breath, clutching his ruined shoulder. Around him, his soldiers groaned and whimpered. The best strike team the military had trained, defeated in less than a minute. By one human girl. The EMP effects began to fade. The lights flickered back on, dim at first, then brighter. Was gone. Stood in the middle of the corridor, shaking. He had not moved since the attack began. He had watched the whole thing, watched his friend move through the darkness like a ghost, watched her destroy 5 trained soldiers without hesitation. He looked at his hands. They were trembling. He had known for 15 years. He thought he knew who she was. A quiet girl, a careful girl, a girl who worried too much. He did not know her at all. Somewhere in the station, alarms began to sound. Security teams would arrive soon. There would be questions. There would be investigations. But first, there was work to do. Appeared beside him. She moved so quietly that he jumped when he saw her. "Are you hurt?" she asked. Shook his head. He could not speak. "Good, come with me quickly." She took his hand and pulled him toward the nearest service passage. He followed without resistance. He did not know what else to do. Behind them, Commander watched them go. His face was twisted with pain and rage and something else. Fear. For the first time in his life, he was afraid of humans. Pulled through the maintenance passages, moving fast but quiet. The service tunnels were dark and narrow, barely wide enough for 2 people to walk side by side. Most beings on the station would get lost in here within minutes. Knew every turn, every junction, every hidden alcove. After 5 minutes, she stopped. They were in a small chamber filled with pipes and wires. The air smelled like metal and recycled oxygen. It was not a pleasant place, but it was safe. No cameras here, no sensors, no witnesses. Leaned against the wall, breathing hard. His face was pale and his hands would not stop shaking. He looked at like she was a stranger. "How?" he asked, his voice cracked. "How did you do that?" Did not answer immediately. She was checking her knife, wiping the blade clean on a piece of cloth she carried in her pocket. The metal gleamed in the dim light. "I was trained," she said finally. "Trained? By who? We grew up together in the bunkers. I never saw you train for anything like that." Put the knife away and met his eyes. Children in New Seoul learned different things. You learned biology and medicine because you wanted to help people. I learned other things because someone had to protect people like you. Stared at her. She could see the questions in his eyes, the confusion, the fear. He was looking at his best friend and seeing someone he did not recognize. "The collapse wars killed 2 billion people," said quietly. "Afterward, the survivors made a decision. We would never be helpless again. Every child learned to fight. Every child learned to survive. Some of us showed talent. We received extra training." "What kind of training?" "The kind that lets a 19-year-old girl defeat 5 professional soldiers in 60 seconds. Was silent for a long moment. Then he asked the question had been waiting for. "Were you going to kill them?" "No," she said. "They are alive, injured but alive. I needed them alive." "Why?" "Because dead soldiers create investigations. Dead soldiers create revenge. These soldiers will wake up tomorrow with broken bones and damaged pride. They will report to their commander that they were defeated, and their commander will have to explain to his superiors how a single human destroyed his elite team." Allowed herself a small smile. Humiliation is sometimes more useful than death. Shook his head. "I do not understand you. I do not understand any of this." "You do not need to understand. You just need to trust me." She reached out and touched his arm. "I am still your friend. I am still the girl who shared her food with you when we were hungry in the bunkers. That has not changed. I just have skills that I kept hidden." "Why did you hide them?" "Because that is what we do. That is what all Earthborn humans do. We hide our strength. We smile and cooperate and let the other species think we are weak. It is safer that way. Safer for who? For everyone. His voice was serious. The Coalition has 47 species. 12 of them are strong enough to destroy humanity if they decided we were a threat. So we do not act like a threat. We act like the harmless newcomers who are grateful to be part of their great civilization. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. But we remember who we are, we never forget. And when something threatens us, we protect ourselves, quietly, secretly, without leaving evidence. Looked at her for a long time. This is bigger than just you, is it not? There are others, other humans who know how to do what you do. Yes. How many? Did not answer. Sighed and closed his eyes. What happens now? Now we need to clean up this mess. Moved toward a small panel on the wall. The EMP killed the cameras in Corridor 9, but there might be other recordings. Security sensors that tracked movement. Energy signatures from the weapons. I need to erase all of it. How can you erase security recordings? That should be impossible. Open the panel, revealing a hidden terminal. Earth's intelligence services installed emergency access points throughout the station. The Coalition does not know about them. No one knows about them except Earthborn personnel who have been cleared. She began typing on the terminal. Screens flickered to life, showing security feeds from across the station. She found Corridor 9 quickly and began working. The official story will be that the EMP was a power malfunction, she said while she worked. The cameras were down, so there is no footage of what happened. The soldiers will say they were attacked, but they will not be able to prove anything. They know it was you. They know it was a human. They do not know which human. And in a few minutes, they will not be able to prove that any human was anywhere near Corridor 9 tonight. Watched her work. Her fingers moved fast across the controls, faster than he thought possible. She was deleting files, editing logs, creating false records. It was like watching a master artist create a painting, except the painting was made of lies. A message appeared on the screen, read it and nodded. Instructor has taken control of the secondary systems, she said. He is helping with the cover-up. Instructor Shin knows about this. Instructor Shin knows about everything. He has been protecting Earthborn cadets for years. He is the reason many of us are still alive. Thought about the combat instructor, the quiet man with the hard eyes who never seemed to smile. He had taken classes with him. He had thought Shin was just a strict teacher. Another thing he had been wrong about. How many secrets are you keeping from me? He asked. Stopped typing and turned to face him. Her expression softened. Many, she admitted, but not because I do not trust you, because knowing these secrets is dangerous. The less you know, the safer you are. That did not keep me safe tonight. No, it did not, and I am sorry for that. She reached out and took his hands. They had stopped shaking, but they were cold. I should have warned you. I should have told you to stop your research before it attracted attention. But I did not want to scare you. I did not want you to lose your belief in the good things. Looked at her hands holding his. Small hands, soft hands, hands that had just destroyed 5 soldiers in less than a minute. I still believe in good things, he said quietly. But I think I understand now that good things need to be protected, sometimes with violence. Nodded, sometimes with violence, sometimes with lies, sometimes with secrets. The galaxy is not a kind place, but that does not mean we cannot be kind. It just means we need to be careful about who we show our kindness to. She released his hands and turned back to the terminal. I need to finish this. When I am done, we will go to the mess hall. We will sit with other Earthborn cadets who will confirm that we were there the entire evening. We will have an alibi that no one can break. You planned all of this. I planned for this possibility. I planned for many possibilities. It is how I survive. Leaned against the wall and watched her work. He thought about everything she had told him, about the hidden strength of humanity, about the secrets that Earthborn children kept from the rest of the galaxy. He thought about his research, about human cellular regeneration, about the biological advantages that made his species so remarkable. Maybe they were right to be afraid. Maybe humanity was more dangerous than anyone realized. And maybe that was exactly how it should be. The terminal beeped, closed the panel and turned to him. "It is done," she said. "The footage is gone. The records have been altered. As far as the station systems know, nothing unusual happened tonight." And the soldiers? They will tell their story. No one will believe them. 5 elite fighters defeated by 1 attacker in 60 seconds, in complete darkness. It sounds like a lie or a nightmare. She smiled. It was the first real smile had seen from her all night. "Come," she said, "let us go get some food. I am hungry." Laughed. It was a strange sound, a little bit crazy, but it felt good. After all that, you are hungry. Fighting is hard work. She took his arm and led him toward the exit. "Also, we need to establish our alibi. The mess hall should be full of witnesses right now." They walked through the maintenance tunnels, heading toward the main corridors. Behind them, the evidence of what had happened was disappearing, bite by bite, memory by memory. The galaxy would never know the truth about tonight. And that was exactly how the humans wanted it. 40 minutes after the attack, the lights in Corridor 9 returned to full power. Station security arrived 3 minutes later. They found 5 soldiers on the floor, groaning in pain. Commander sat against the wall, his right arm hanging useless at his side, his face twisted with rage. Security chief was the first to reach them. He was a member of a species known for their calm logic and their dislike of drama. He looked at the scene with his 4 eyes and felt a headache beginning to form. "Report," he said, "what happened here?" Struggled to his feet. "We were ambushed, attacked without warning." "By who?" "Humans," spat the word like it was poison. "At least 15 of them, maybe more. They came out of nowhere." Looked around the corridor. The walls were bare. The floor was clean. There were no signs of a large battle, no blood, no debris, just 5 injured soldiers and a lot of empty space. 15 humans attacked you," he said slowly, "in this corridor, and there is no evidence of their presence." They were fast, organized. They knew exactly what they were doing. Checked his tablet. The security cameras in this section were offline during the incident, a power malfunction caused by an EMP. The humans used the EMP. They planned this. "That is a serious accusation, Commander. Do you have proof?" His jaw tightened. "Look at my soldiers, look at their injuries. That is my proof." Examine the soldiers. One had a crushed throat, barely able to breathe. Another had a dislocated shoulder and a broken face. The third had head trauma. The fourth had a cut across the back of his knee and was unconscious. All of them were in bad shape. "These injuries are severe," admitted, "but they do not prove who caused them. Without footage, without witnesses, we have no way to identify the attackers." "I am telling you who the attackers were." "You are telling me that humans did this." "Humans, Commander, the species that every assessment describes as physically weak and non-aggressive. You expect me to believe that humans defeated 5 of your best soldiers?" Stepped closer to, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "I was there. I saw what happened. I felt it. One of them spoke to me, a female, young. She moved like nothing I have ever seen." "One human. You said there were 15. "I thought there were 15. It was dark. The EMP had killed the lights, but thinking back," paused, his face troubled, "it might have been 1. It all happened so fast." Made a note on his tablet. "So your story is that 1 human female attacked and defeated 5 trained soldiers in complete darkness." When he said it like that, it sounded impossible. Knew it sounded impossible, but it was true. He had felt her hands on him. He had heard her voice in his ear. He would never forget that voice for as long as he lived. "I know what I experienced," he said firmly. "I am sure you do, Commander, but experience is not evidence. I will need to question the human cadets, all of them. Start with the one called Park, and he was the target of the attack. He must have seen something." Nodded. "I will bring them in for questioning." 2 hours later, sat in a small room in the security office. The walls were in plain. A single light hung from the ceiling. Across from her sat security chief, his 4 eyes studying her with professional curiosity. "State your name for the record," he said. "Park, second-year cadet, Earth origin." "Where were you this evening between 2100 and 2200 hours?" "In the mess hall. I was eating dinner with my friends." "Which friends?" Gave him a list of names. 12 names. 12 Earthborn cadets who would confirm her story without hesitation. Checked his records. "The mess hall logs show you entered at 2000 hours and did not leave until 2230. "That is correct." "You were there for 2.5 hours. "I was hungry, and my friend Sora was having problems with her studies. I helped her review for her exam." Leaned back in his chair. "Commander claims that a human female attacked his soldiers in Corridor 9 at approximately 2108. He believes it might have been you." Let her face show confusion. "Me? Why would he think that?" "Apparently, you have been seen watching his officers over the past few days." "I watch everyone. It is a habit I developed on Earth. We learn to be aware of our surroundings." "A habit?" "Yes. Growing up in the bunkers during the collapse wars taught us to pay attention. It does not mean I attacked anyone." Studied her for a long moment. Kept her expression calm, her body relaxed. She had been trained for interrogations. She knew how to control every muscle in her face, every tiny signal that might betray her. "The corridor where the attack happened is on your usual route from classes to quarters," said. "It is on the usual route for many cadets. It is the most direct path." "Yet you were not on that route tonight." "No, I went to the mess hall instead. I was meeting my friends." Made another note. 12 witnesses place you in the mess hall during the time of the attack. The security logs confirm it. I have no evidence connecting you to the incident." Nodded slowly, "Because I was not involved." In the next room was giving his own statement. His story matched perfectly. He had been in the mess hall all evening. He had never gone to Corridor 9. He did not know anything about an attack. He was lying, of course, but he was a biologist, not an actor. He did not need to act. He just needed to repeat the words had taught him. "I was having dinner with my friends. I do not know anything about what happened. I am sorry I cannot help you." Simple, direct, impossible to disprove. By the end of the night, Security Chief had questioned 20 Earthborn cadets. Every single one of them had an alibi. Every single one of them seemed genuinely confused by the accusations. He returned to his office and wrote his report. "Incident in Corridor 9, inconclusive. Power malfunction caused by EMP of unknown origin. 5 military personnel sustained injuries in circumstances that remain unclear. No witnesses, no footage, no evidence of human involvement." He paused, then added a final note. "Commander's account of the attack is inconsistent with physical evidence and known human capabilities. Recommend no further action pending additional evidence." Across the station, Ambassador received the report on his private terminal. He read it twice, his ancient face growing darker with each word. "Inconclusive," he muttered. "No evidence, no witnesses." The door opened, and Commander entered. His arm was in a medical sling, and his face was tight with pain. But the pain in his body was nothing compared to the humiliation in his heart. "I failed you, Ambassador." "Yes, you did. I underestimated them. We all did. Humans are not what they appear to be." Was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice cold and hard. "Tell me exactly what happened, every detail, leave nothing out." Told his story, the darkness, the speed, the way the human girl had moved through his team like water through stones, the words she had whispered in his ear before she let him fall. "You do not know us at all." Listened without interrupting. When finished, the ambassador stood and walked to his window. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. "We have made an error," he said finally. "Not just tonight. For 12 years we have looked at humans and seen what we wanted to see, a primitive species, a useful labor force, a minor addition to our great coalition." He turned to face. "We were blind, or perhaps they wanted us to be blind. Perhaps they have been hiding their true nature from us since the day they arrived. What do we do now?" Considered the question. He could order another extraction. He could send more soldiers, more resources, but something told him that would only lead to more failure, more humiliation. The human girl had let his soldiers live. She had sent a message. This was a warning, not a war. Yet, "We do nothing," said. "For now, we watch, we gather information, we learn who these humans really are. And if they are dangerous, then we will deal with them, but quietly, carefully, not with clumsy abductions in dark corridors." He looked at with cold eyes. "The humans are playing a long game. We must learn to play it too." Nodded and left the room. Alone, stared at the stars and thought about the species called humanity. The ones who smiled and cooperated and seemed so eager to please. What else were they hiding? What else could they do? For the first time in centuries, Ambassador felt something he had almost forgotten. Uncertainty. And behind it, growing slowly like a shadow, fear.